Hello, Grumpy Old Fart here. I finally got the opportunity to watch the first episode of Star Trek Picard, and I gotta say, it was at least better than I heard. It's not it's not good. It's not good at all, but it's better than I heard. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but just in case, I'm going to warn everybody. There might be some spoilers. This takes place a couple of decades, I think, after the last time we saw Captain Picard, and it's he's left Starfleet because he didn't agree with the changes that were made there. I kind of sort of understand, because if you're a soldier, you enforce the policies of the government. That's your job. Well, people tend to blame the soldiers, and if the soldier has a moral conundrum, the only thing he can do is quit, because he has to take orders. And if the people giving you orders are giving you bad orders, you don't have really much of an opportunity. You can't really fight against it. All you can do is respectfully refuse. But ultimately, your last resort is to quit, which is apparently what he did. This takes place in the J.J. Abrams timeline, where the Romulan star went nova, and Picard wanted to evacuate a whole bunch of Romulans, and when apparently there's a problem they have there with the synthetic people, like Data. Data was an android. Well, apparently there was a whole bunch more of those made. They weren't apparently up to they didn't have the positronic brain like Data. They were just really well programmed. But apparently they went crazy and started blowing stuff up, and Mars is still on fire because of it, and blah 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 blah. I don't know. It was hard to follow the story, but apparently there's a synthetic person in there, and her name is Dodge, and she's, I don't know what the hell she is. Honestly, I don't know. Excuse me. Sorry, dogs. But somehow or other, she has a brain inside of a positronic brain, or at least some sort of a robot brain inside of a human body, and I don't know how that gives her superhuman strength and all that, but apparently it does. And because she leaped 40 or 80 feet or whatever the hell it was, and there is something to be said for Romulan biogenetic engineering. They can change a person's biological structure. That's been clearly defined and clearly proven in Star Trek canon. But I've never known them to spit their blood in its acid and it melts a gun. That doesn't make sense. Furthermore, the Black Ops people, the Romulans that apparently tried to assault her, are complete morons, because they could have beamed her out. They could have beamed. There was no reason to kill the one guy because his back was turned. They could have beamed her out, and he would have never known she. As far as he could tell, she ran out the door or something. And there's better ways to capture someone. If you have a transporter, you can transport her and keep her in the buffer. Like the episode Relics, where Scotty was in the buffer, the transporter buffer, for 70 years or 75 years or whatever. All in all, the people who wrote this didn't know anything about Star Trek. They have no idea what they're doing. Like I said, it wasn't as bad as I'd heard, but it was still pretty damn bad. There is room to pull this out, but there's going to have to be a lot of changes. The politics happens in any governmental body, and with Starfleet, I'm sure politics prevails, because it happens a lot. And if the politics of Starfleet changed and Jean-Luc Picard didn't like it, his resort was to leave, so I understand that. But there's something. There was one other undermining thing that I didn't hear touched on. There was an episode, and I don't remember what it was called. I think it was called "Measure of a Man," and they put Data on trial because there was a man named Maddox who wanted to disassemble him and see if he could make more. And Data was on trial, and they were trying to prove that he was sentient. And Picard was his defense attorney. Riker was the prosecution. Excuse me. And in that trial, they declared Data was sentient, which means he has all the rights and privileges of a Starfleet officer. So somebody created a whole bunch more of these, but they don't have the same legal rights, apparently. Because when this happened on Mars, rather than try to fix the problem, they banned all synths. So a subrace or a race of people does something bad, and rather than try to figure out what the problem is and fix it, they banned the race. Isn't that kind of racist? To me, that seems a bit racist. I'm just saying. Now, if these people didn't have the same rights as a human being, that means they were creating a slave race. And if it's a slave race, slavery is illegal in the Federation, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to say we have a robot that does this function. That's fine. The robot's not sentient. If it's sentient, it has rights. So there's a clear distinction there. We have robots that perform functions now. But if all these synthetic people were sentient, like they said, then it's my understanding. If that's the case, then they all had civil rights, and you can't ban them as a species. Do you see the point there? Something's not right. As far as the storyline goes, it hasn't developed enough to really... And again, I saw the first episode for free on YouTube. They're putting it on YouTube because apparently nobody's buying the CBS All Access thing. I don't know what the deal is there, and frankly, I don't care. This first episode did not impress me enough to want to watch more. I assume it could be pulled out. They could save the plot of this. But I mean, it would take a lot of work, and I don't think they'd be willing to do it, to be honest. The writers don't know enough about Star Trek to do it, and I don't have a lot of faith in it. Let's just put it that way. So I don't intend to watch the rest of the series. As much as I love Picard, those of you who know me, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. The original series with Kirk, I watched it for years. I grew up watching it. And then the Next Generation came out with Picard and the DS9, Voyager, and then later on even Enterprise. I liked it, although it's a prequel, so there's going to be continuity problems. My point is, I love the character Captain Picard, and Patrick Stewart's a good actor. But again, this is the writing. It's being written by people that don't know Star Trek. They don't have a mind for what Star Trek technology can do. If you have a transporter, it allows you to if you're going to, and I talked about this earlier, if you're going to abduct someone, why send in a team, wait till the guy's not looking, and then beam her out? Be done with it. You got her in the transporter buffer. You can reconstitute her later, reform her later or whatever. Pull her out of the buffer, make her, solid again. And then she's in a holding cell. How hard is that? Then she can't get out, no matter how strong she is. Because they've got cells they can hold even data. Duh. But Obviously, when they went to get her, they tried to get there was some information or something in her brain that they wanted, and they were having problems locating it for whatever reason, and then, oh no, she's activated, and then she kills them. Beam her out. It's a lot easier. My point is, the people who did this don't know Star Trek. They don't know how Star Trek technology functions. They don't know how devious Romulans are. Imagine a Vulcan with a mean streak. That's a Romulan. Okay. So you got all the brains, but you also got the mean streak and the devious and all that. So, you know, they're not taking that into account. These people are seriously underselling the characters, and there's just so much more they could have done. But again, if you want to watch it yourself, the first episode's free on YouTube. So knock yourself out. And if you disagree with me, that's cool. Put it in the comments. You know, again, my opinion is not the only one that matters. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.